So
Woo!
I have a guest fresh in from the beaches of Miami.
Ah, what's happening?
Oh
Hurricane
my God.
who? Hurricane of who?
All
What's
right.
that?
It's my
All
friend
right.
James DuMont, you guys. Welcome to the Hernandez after shows we're doing here for the Ryan Murphy show on FX and Hulu. And James has been on one of my other shows back in December. It was like 8, 9 months ago. We did a show together,
Yep.
became friends. So James, how are you? First of all, how are you?
I'm good. And there were no children made from the 8 to 9 months ago. Just to be clear, there was no birthing was happening in that time period. Just for the record, just to set it
I was
straight.
going to warn you, he's a little crazy. That's why I like him. Um,
There it is.
and we love it. His
Going
name's
with the
James,
full
like mine.
ball, going all, Lex Luthor these days, trying to grab all those jobs at J.K. Simmons. They can't afford him or he's
Okay.
unavailable. So
Okay.
trying
No,
to,
you are booked and busy. Okay, so wait a minute. Are you really shaved? Heck, you are shaved all the way down. Is that
yeah,
on purpose?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It's just a thing I've been doing, just kind of like a little homage to my man Chickless, my college buddy. So,
Hey, you
but
went to
yeah, I
college
just feel
with,
like
Chicklets?
I went to college with Michael Chickless. Yeah, he and
I
I
love that. I love
are
it.
dear friends. Been
Oh,
since I was a wee young lad.
oh my goodness. The Shield's my favorite shows of all time. So don't get me
One
started.
of my and mine as well. And now, we're getting as the seasons go on, we get really tight with Walter Goggins on Gemstones and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know. Walter's a great
We're gonna
actor.
be hanging out with Walton. It's like, oh my God, so it's all
And of
good.
course, Sean Ryan, another baldy. Sean Ryan, who produced and
Another Midwestern guy with a full
yes,
bald head.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
I love it.
So
So
is it the Sean Ryan universe or the Ryan Murphy? There's a Ryan in there somewhere. The Ryan Murphy.
how
Yeah. So
funny
this
is
is my
that?
third. This is my third go round with Mr. Ryan Murphy. So
Wait, what
I
else have you
think
done? Wait, what else have you done with
I did Horror Story. I recurred as American Horror Story on Coven as Sarah Paulson's obstetrician
okay.
for a couple episodes, and then I did 3 or 4 episodes of Freak Show
Oh,
with Sarah playing the twins.
okay.
And Jessica Lange and Kathy
Yeah,
Bates and Angela Bassett and Michael Chiklis.
yeah.
So yeah, so this is my third go round with Mr. Murphy, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, let me ask you a question about that because does do you have to really audition for it? Does he know who you are? Like he knows who you
Oh
are.
yeah, no, I auditioned, but he does know, and the producers know my work. I auditioned for a couple of different roles in the series, and I was really happy and pleasantly surprised at the role that kind of went my way because there is a guy that like I look just like, like I visually look just like, but he hardly has anything in the show. Like he has another actor plays and he really doesn't say much but he's in episodes. And then there's this other Detective Arrighi, who is the guy that actually breaks the case. He's the one that puts all the pieces together, the surveillance,
Yeah.
this thing, and as the one that does the search warrant, does the one that does the arrest, does the famous perp walk that was seen all over the world.
Yes. Yes.
So they, this is not no spoiler in here because it's on the trailer. It's like I have a hairpiece. Like they feel like they made me look like the guy. So I got up at like 3 or 4 in the morning to get there to, had the beast built and put on. And yeah, it's a great look. I think at some point I'll figure out a way to kind of put it in here. But
Well,
yeah,
let
so
me ask you a question because
yeah.
we'll get to the role and stuff, but I'm fascinated because the Ryan Murphy universe is a machine. He's like. I mean, he has right now. He had the number 1 show with this on Hulu.
Yep.
Number 1 show
Yep.
on Netflix. We do the Monsters
Yep.
After Show. Plus, now he has
Yep.
Doctor Odyssey that just started.
Yep.
He's just like his machine. So when you go
You
to
mean
work for him,
ER Love Boat? The ER Love Boat?
I don't love. I just want to say it's a love boat, basically. I'm like, where's I?
ER Love Boat. ER meets Love Boat with Don Johnson
Right.
and
Wait. I
80,
want to ask you a
90.
question. My question is,
Yeah.
when you go to his sets and stuff, is it really that big of a machine? Is it just like he just has it all running and you get on there, you do your job, and that's it?
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah. It is you know, because he is a master of his own kind of universe in there. And also, mind you, New York is my base, pretty much these days. So, at the time that I did this show, he was finishing up Feud, then he had American Horror Story, and he had American Sports Story, and then they were pre-proing Monsters. So he had 3 active going in New York at once, and then everything was going to go West Coast for Monsters. So he was having 4 shows going on at once. And there were different teams of people because again, there's certain directors that he's worked with before, like our director had worked with him before. And then Jen Lynch. I've been a fan of Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter,
Yes.
who's, an amazing director and she and I have a mutual friend and had shorthand and, we're trying to get a project together going because I just adore her. Yeah, she and I worked really fast and quick. But for Ryan Murphy Universe, it's like same thing with Coven and Freak Show, and same it's kind of similar if you think about it in terms of Dean McBride. It's like the same group of people, the crews of people that have been working with them for a while. It's like they know what the hours are, they know what the demands are, they know that they're doing cross-boarding, they know they're doing multiple locations. Like, it's I won't say it's a grind. You know what I mean? It is. But it's one of those, but the outcome and the results from the kind of work that he does is next level and why he is where he's at. It's like the writing is always solid. The directors are always innovative and interesting and very quick and facile. And yeah, so I mean, my experience has always been a positive one working for him, and I'd like to continue as well. I actually, right after when we did Freak Show, a dear friend of mine is a well-known photographer in New Orleans who captured a lot of incredible photographs that were all over the world during, after Katrina. And he kind of goes around and just grabs his camera and captures things as he sees them. Like that's the kind of how, because he's working towards 1 million images, which I think he's already kind of at right now. So, in a lifetime, 1 million images is a lot, and so one of these places that, one of the like the most kind of famous little diners in our area had the cars from that period up there. It was called Camellia Grill. And Camellia Grill had the cars from that time period. And he took a photograph and it was just pristine. It's almost as if that was right from the 50s, and or 40s, 50s. And I bought the photograph and I was like, I know exactly who I'm sending this picture to. I sent it to Ryan Murphy. So it was my gift of yeah, it was a pretty cool gift. And I heard the rumor is that it's in his office because it kind of captures, Freak Show. So I was like, that's what I heard, but it may not be there now, but it was years ago. But
Oh
yeah,
no, but I'm glad you answered because I was wondering what it was like because he puts out such major product and it's
yeah,
he has an American crime story, an American horror story, an American this and
right.
that. And it's like he's just
Yep.
putting all this stuff out. I was just
Yep.
curious to work on a set as an actor. It must be wonderful that you just come on, you just got new
Yeah.
stuff, and it must be great.
Yeah. I think the main thing is I liken working with him to more working on film.
Okay.
I think it still moves, like in terms of television and time. But I think the attention to detail, the attention to moments, the attention to costumes, to art direction, um, tone, style, tempo, a feel, it is a television series. But the thing is, he's not bound by network advertising, at least not, I mean, sort of, I guess he is in a
Right,
way
well,
now
kind of, but not really.
now that streaming has ad revenue that we don't get
Yeah.
any of. Oh, I'm sorry. Did
Did
I
you say it out loud? Did you say it out
did I
loud?
do that loud? Oh, yeah. We struck in order for you to get more money, and then you make more money by doing subscribers and ad revenue, but we don't get any of that. That's interesting.
We'll leave
So,
that in, folks. Yes.
you can leave that in, but I
I'm leaving
digress.
that in. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but point being is that, he's not under the kind of Dick Wolf,
Right.
pushing the entire story between the ad revenue that pays the salaries and the wonderful benefits of network television. He gets to tell a story with, yes, adhering to some sort of grid or time, like this is an allotted time. But I think what I love about him, and same thing with Danny McBride in terms of Righteous Gemstones, it's like we don't always stick to the 30 minutes, sometimes we go
Right.
45, and
Right.
so I think to tell the story right, to do the story right, he's not under those confines. And I think that's one of the things. So for me, sometimes with the episodic television, you have to move the moments along, and you can't take indulgent moments or pauses or allow for reflection or for characters to process information. It's just spitting out things in order to keep the story moving. And I think one of the things that makes Ryan Murphy amazing in that regard is he's a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
He makes television, but the reality is that if you look at the attention to detail and everything in all American Sports Story, American Horror Story, American Crime Story, all the American stories, And even, the feud, and even with, with Monsters, it's like, ironically, I actually did the Dick Wolf, 7 episodes of the Dick Wolf thing about the Menendez brothers. So we got
Oh, how
Menendez.
funny.
But what was interesting is the same locations. Like he used the same locations that we did, and almost untold in a very, almost the exact same way it was unfolded, because Dick Wolf and Ryan Murphy really are attention to detail and historical accuracy. And so it was really wild watching. I was watching Monsters. It was wild going, oh my God, that's the same location that we shot, and that's the same room where the parents were shot. And there's the couch that we were on. So I feel like what I love is his attention to detail, and really surrounding himself with, I think, some of the best writing and storytelling directors and collaborators in the business. It's like, there's like Jen Lynch is a perfect example. It's a perfect fit for Ryan Murphy and Carl Franklin, even doing Monsters. So there's certain directors that are film directors that are directing for television, who are still kind of making sure that nuances and moments are not just skipped through in order to kind of pay for the ads.
Yeah, he has also Paris Barclay, who did
Paris Barclay, another like iconic, been on my hit list for years. Carl Franklin and Paris Barclay, like wherever you are, if you see this, I've been stalking you. It's like
there you go.
it's a matter of time. If you're looking for an actor that will deliver your performance in 2 takes, maybe 3, but probably 2 or less, Sam Jackson School of Acting.
That's right.
I'm your man. You know what I mean? And Lynch knew that from the get-go. She's like, no, we're moving on. We're good. You got it. We got it. And you're also shooting 2 cameras as well, because sometimes they're doing a dolly shot and they're doing handheld, or they're doing, steady cam. So it's like because they're shooting digitally, they're able to capture a lot. We don't have to spend long periods of time doing multiple takes and takes. It's not a David, Fincher scenario, 50 takes per camera setup.
I hate that. No, he's like this funny. So it's the one take Charlie effect, and when everybody just come on in, and get it done. I mean, if you're prepared, for the most part,
that's it. That's exactly what it is.
Your job's to be prepared. That's your job. Your job's to be prepared.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before. Is that I'm at the closer stage of my career. I'm not a new kid. I'm a seasoned vet that's been done many different types of major Oscar-winning films, well known and acknowledged television, and even comedies and dramas. But I'm still consider myself like a closer in baseball.
Yeah.
Like I just worked when I was working with Reggie Hudlin on Candy Cane Lane for Amazon. They spent 4 hours setting the shot up, and all my shots were done in 20 minutes. He's like, that's why you're here. That's why you're an assassin, is because I don't have, I have other things to kind of worry about. I don't need to worry about you. So I think there's a great value to the seasoned, vet who comes in, and I use that plays, same thing of like a closer in baseball. To get 9 strikes. You got to get 3 strikes out of this one, and then 3 more, and then we're out of the inning, and we've either won or we won our day. But oftentimes, my day for working on American Sports Story, my day started at 2 a.m. Car came at 2 a.m. in an apartment in town, 2 or 3 a.m, and then I was in hair for a couple of hours, and then I may sit around for 4 hours or so, and then. So that's an important component too, is sometimes I've been sitting in a trailer for 6 to 8 hours, or I've been working off camera, like in Trumbo, for 12 hours. And then the next 6 hours or I'm on camera. So, there has to be a way, much like an athlete. And I think there's a lot of commonalities between athletes and actors and writers and creatives, in the sense that, there's the marquee player, there's the quarterbacks, the famous people that you just throw money at. And then there's the guy that, that hikes the ball, there's the center that hikes the ball and blocks and makes sure that the quarterback can do what he needs to do. So everybody has a job and a position. But I think working for Ryan Murphy's, always a joy for me. And a challenge, because I think the material is always strong and lends itself to more subtleties than expository explanation of storyline, which is what is more episodic. People are really kind of banking on these shows to kind of, you get the bad guy, and this is what we're banking on. So I think I love also the surprises, and Ryan Murphy doesn't kind of skirt around, you know, the things you find out about Aaron Hernandez, even in the
I
first
know.
couple episodes. You're like,
I know.
you know, a lot. I mean, there were, you know, there's some hardcore New England Patriot fans who are like, yeah, I
Well, when
heard the
I
story.
yeah, so folks who listen to my second episode, like, because it comes out on Tuesdays, and so well, the third episode comes out tomorrow
Yes.
or whatever. But because this will be out today, later today. Um, when I saw a giant thing on screen, I was like, oh, okay, it's Ryan Murphy. He does go there. Like there's that. I was like, I wasn't expecting that so soon. And I
Yeah.
was watching in the
Yes.
morning. I didn't have my coffee yet, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
I'm
You're
seeing
like,
that.
wow.
I'm like, wow, I'm seeing that this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he does.
exactly. French roll. Chocolate Bismarck. Oh my God. It's only 8 o'clock and I haven't eaten yet.
I
And
really was like, wow,
I'm looking at,
I need to get
I'm
my
looking
coffee.
at Dawn before
Exactly, before I
breakfast.
get my coffee. I was just
I
wasn't like,
can't unsee that, you know?
no, you can't. I couldn't unsee that. So yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, Ryan, but it's Ryan. I used to watch the
Right.
that was my show. All right, so okay, okay, so you're leading into something I want to ask you. Actually, anyway, I want to ask you because I knew I was a Patriot fan years ago, and I knew about Aaron Hernandez and all that. Did you know about all that stuff? Are you a football? I can't remember if you're a football fan or not. Did you know all that stuff?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, my baseball's more my jam, you know, and
All right, that's what I
you know,
thought. Baseball was more your stuff.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm, you know, born and raised in Chicago and New York, so it's like I got, you know, my Cubs, which is a sad but wonderful tale. And then, you know, who doesn't love and hate the Yankees? But then, you know, who hates the Yankees is Red Sox fans. And I went to school in Boston, so I got to watch Carl Yastrzemski's last game. You know, I had great New England memories. I watched, you know, Doug Flutie throw that pass that like won the game for BC. You know, so I've had these iconic, you know, so you know, there's a kinship that I've always had for Boston,
okay,
you know, and as much as the Patriots, you know, it's like the thing I love about New England fans is like they're there's a little chip on their shoulder because it's like they're not New York and they know it. So it's this over, like we got more medals and we're the like it's always overcompensating because they're the little city that could, you know, and
are.
so you know, so there is that, but that also just that's what makes it so awesome to watch their games and the fans of how cold it is, how dedicated they are,
True,
how, you know, like same thing in New Orleans here, the Saints fans are just, you know, they're
true.
just so incredibly loyal. And I feel like so as much as I'm not I would say a 100%, you know, New England Patriot, like how can you not like watching the way in which that they played and dominated? And I think this story is really it's an American sports story, but it's an American story, an American tragedy in that sense. You know,
So
it's
so
like,
so so you knew a little bit like me. We knew about it beforehand
yeah,
a little bit.
yep,
And like you're playing the half of the show where you are part of the arrest. You're a part of the
that's right,
thing. So like
right.
you're part of the
Yeah,
crime.
I'm in episode 8 and 9. You
Yeah. So
know,
you, yeah. So
it
you're
goes to episode 10. So
okay. You're part of the crime. You're part of the
I'm
crime.
part of the solving of the crime part of
Yes.
this. Yeah,
So was that a trip to? Was your script was it very descriptive and all that's like you have to read? I mean, like
yeah, the thing for me is I was up for a couple of different detectives from my I was reading out from my, you know, I have an agent in New York and I had an agent in New York and the agency went under after all this. Since
oh
19,
wow,
since 1980 they've been around and they went under. It's like not just Abrams but other agencies that have been
I
around for a
hear
long
that for them.
time. Yeah, so I was like, wow, you know. So I got a call out of my New York agent and I got a call out of I have a Boston agent because I work in Boston a lot and I teach there as well. And so I was reading for two different detective roles. And mind you, this was right around July, just before the SAG strike. In fact, this audition I can't wait for my stuff to air because I'm going to show my audition and then my scenes because I always like to do that kind of self-tape to set of like, this is what I did in my audition and this is what the result is. And this is what the outcome is in the sense that, you know, the audition is the job. Like what you're going to do in that audition shows you everything that they're going to do on set. So you can't leave anything out. Like don't spare anything. You have to bring them exactly what you plan to do. And I always give them a take one and take two. So I was reading for two different roles, and then I got an avail check on both, but I didn't know what role it was.
Wow.
And mind you, I put that audition in for this role for Arrighi. I put it in an hour before the SAG strike was called. Like I got it in 11 o'clock East Coast time for midnight cutoff. So I snuck it in right there on the deadline.
Wow.
And then I didn't hear anything because the SAG strike was
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
until December. So it's like I did that audition in July, and in December, between Christmas and New Year's, I got a call for an avail check to go. They're looking for you maybe January, February. In fact, I was already offered another movie, and I was really torn because I was like, I don't want to lose this. I want to do the movie, and then I want to go do the series, but I
Yeah.
also don't want to lock up this. I also don't want to not be available for Ryan Murphy. So I had
Right.
to give up this hockey movie that I really wanted to
Oh,
do. Shooting it, ironically, shooting in Massachusetts. I was right there. So yeah, so then they called it, they checked it out, and then finally they came back and it was like they realized that I was being looked at for two different roles from the same office. And then they're like, oh no, we want him for the larger recurring role, the bigger one that's the 2 episode, the guy that, even though he looks more like this other dude, that's too small. We want to give James something more substantial. So that's where that kind of history of Ryan Murphy kind of comes in of, we
we know what
need
he can
somebody.
do. We know he could do this.
Yeah, we know what he can do, and we need somebody to drive this, and we'll figure out a way to make him look like the historical guy, and we'll figure that out later. But I use that as an example, and I bring that up because I got 2,000 students all over the world that I teach on Zoom for my on-camera workouts. And it's like, I always remind them, it's like, your self-tape has got to hold up over time. And that self-tape went through many, many eyes,
Sure.
that many,
Sure.
many back and forth when the schedule's going on, want this guy for this role, for that. So many, many people had eyes on that. Then it went to the casting directors, then it went to the producers, then it had to go to network approval. And lucky for me, I've, worked for FX before. So, it's like I'm not an unknown entity, especially because of American Horror Story. But yeah, so, there's a lot of discernment that happens on the other end of this that people don't necessarily think about. So you have to put together the most compelling. And the fun part is I got to read it with my son. It was July in the summertime. My son was home. So we read together. And after we shed it, he goes, dude, like like that was dope. Like, and you had two totally different. I did one like hardcore New England Boston accent. I had a hardcore Boston accent, which he actually did have. But then when I got there, I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten that he had like, and I was like, and I started shooting, and I was like, I can't add it now. So I'll pick a couple little words.
Oh, you forgot
I'll
it
pick
was
it because I gave them two takes. I gave them one like just standard detective, what you'd see,
They
and
didn't
then
say
another
anything to you
one.
when you first did it. They didn't say like,
Oh, no, because look, they're thinking about a whole other things. They're not thinking about my self-tape from July of the year previous. They're, like it's cold outside. They're trying to hit their days. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to be bothering. So, but now it reminds me of like next time I do get on set from booking something from self-tape, I'm going to be asking those kind of questions.
yeah,
But yeah, the guy had a little bit I watched a lot of footage on him when he was on the stand. I listened to interviews with him. I watched other news things about him. I found out when he retired, where he, like I did a lot of research, and I actually knew a lot of New England. One of my students is a New England state trooper, and he knew exactly who he was. He knew all the police there. He's like, "Can get you in touch with him if you want to talk." He's like, "Let me wait till I do it. I'll talk to him after." I don't want to jinx it. Or the guy's like, "Oh, what is this? Chunky dude. Like, I'm a much better shape than this guy. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
that bald dude playing me is like,
And I
don't look
love
like."
it. I love
Yeah,
it.
so I feel like so I did research on him to find out a lot of stuff about how they went about the surveillance that happened, the fingerprint footage, other surveillance they did of other people. But this guy was the one that had the board of connecting the dots. And that's where my son and I kind of had fun, is that we created stuff, and I talk about this all the time in my workouts of like film and television is a visual medium. You have to create a world on the other side of this camera. Memorizing lines and being truthful, grounded, believable, authentic, it's just not enough anymore, especially to compete. So for me, I knew that audition was pretty solid. When I got my son going, dude, like that was really good. And I was like, because we built stuff. So there is that, you'll see when the first episode, there is this evidence wall that we kind of build that I crafted, myself, in the comforts of my own home. And I say to everybody, it's like, if you do it here, you're going to get to do it there. But if you can't figure it out and you can't, if you're working out of the frame here, it doesn't send us a message that you can work within the frame. So, but
I
yeah,
love
you're all,
that.
it's got to hold up, man. And it did.
And
Lucky
that's
for me.
true. No, that's a true statement because I did a couple in my work of hosting. We do hosting reels, things like that, and
Yeah,
you'll send a thing in, or in radio we do air checks. So you send those things in, and they have to. You're right. You don't know how many eyes and ears are going to have in their hands because they don't just go to one person direct. You may give it to one person directly, but then so and so needs to hear it. And you just never know. It could be a year later. It could be a year and a half later. I've had things 2 years later. That guy, James Lott Jr., that's right. I remember him from like 2 years ago. What is this
that's
thing
right.
again? He said to him, they go, oh, I can still hold it up too at the same time. So I get what you're saying. The other thing you said, something that was really true too. When I worked on House with Hugh Laurie and all them, it's true. You have the lead people who they like you say, throw money out and do the big stuff. But they really, the people who handled the background, supporting cast, recurring cast, there were some, second ADs and AD, all those. They were great because they were literally, we have to create the world. That's the whole
Yes,
thing. We're creating these actors, yeah, they're the stars, they're the headliners, but we create the world to make it look authentic. And that's what
correct.
I learned on that show, especially. I was like, oh, I get it now. It's like, even the way you do your background crosses, your foreground, it all counts. Like you said, if
Correct.
somebody's good, if the thing is crooked on the wall, you got to fix that thing real quick. Like it's everything. The clothes
Yeah,
you
every
wear.
little attention to detail. I was a big fan of the master classes, and I watched tons of them. And one of the things Ron Howard was always talking about is every little detail. My job is there's things that are on a page, but I got to take these things that are just words and narrative, and I have to fit it all into this frame. So even like Surratt, like every little detail or that background person, no, that jacket's too dark.
Yes, right.
I don't want them walking, so just so have them staying there and then at a certain point then move over, so like every little detail is a matter. And if you understand that you're part of that collaboration, and this again goes back to the an homage to Ryan's work, is that attention to detail is everything. And if you understand that part of your collaboration is you're contributing to that, and the more you do it here, the more likely you're going to get to do it there. So
Yeah,
that's good.
that's very true.
That's the key thing.
Well, I want folks actually also to know because people didn't hear the last show because now I tell them here on this show I always want to promote you. You do
Thank you.
do you do
Do. That's
you do
right.
do
That is one of my nicknames, Jimmy Do, because I do.
you do.
I'm a doer. I'm not a talker. I
Jimmy,
am a talker, but
right.
I'm a doer.
Jimmy, don't give me all.
Jimmy Do.
James
Yeah.
also does. To get my grammar together. James, I do have degrees, folks. I really do. James also does self-tape workshops, acting workshops all the time. And tell people about that because I think that's fascinating. And you're part of the
Yeah.
village that helps everybody, pull together.
Yeah, that's I'm in the of service part of my career at this point. Like I've had an amazing my son said, yeah, if you stop now, you should be just happy with what you've done. So anything else that you do is kind of gravy at this point.
Yeah.
And I agree in a certain sense, but I'm pretty ambitious.
You ain't done yet, James. You ain't done yet.
I think I'm midway. I feel I'm mid career. Like I haven't even got,
Yeah.
until I'm walking away with a lot of gold, statues, and I got, till I got the trifecta happening. I don't know if I'm gonna get a Grammy, but I'll work on it. Or Tony. Well, I could do Tony. But the awards are not so much important for me. Is what is the next phase of the journey. But for me, I started coaching about 9 years ago, out of my home in New Orleans, after living in LA for 20 years, and I have my apartment in New York. So I'm a tri-coastal actor. So I work the Southeast, which includes Atlanta, and Louisiana, and Georgia, and South Carolina, where we shoot the Righteous
Right.
Gemstones, and then New York is my hub, and then Los Angeles. So I started doing coaching about 9 years ago. It got really intense during COVID because I was a guy that had been self-taping for 15 years because I was living in LA, working in Louisiana, or I was working in Louisiana, shooting things for LA or New York. So it was like, so self-taping has been my specialty for the last 15 years. And way before COVID and way before everybody claims that they're self-tape mastery, when show me your IMDb, I'll show you mine. Show me your self-tape and I'll show you mine. Because everybody's talking about it. Everybody's got, oh, they know all the stuff. And I'm like, I don't see any empirical evidence that you're currently not on camera and you're talking about it. So it's a little disconcerting, but I'm a working actor who trains other working actors. And my definition of a working actor is anyone who's working towards being an actor. Employment is not a benchmark of being a
I
working
agree
actor.
with that.
That's just a fact.
I agree with that.
And so I teach working actor. I have about 2,000 students all over the world. And I started moving things online right around COVID. And I did 18 and 20-hour days. I taught classes 6 to 7 days a week. It was outrageous. But in that time period, I've looked at about and coached about 10 to 15,000 self-tapes. And I do 50 to 100 of them in a given year. And I'm looking at it from a different point of view and a perspective, which is, I think the hard part is because there's watchers, decision makers on the other side. They're speaking to there's an art to their curation in terms of who they like. The casting directors that always work on Ryan Murphy's thing are like very, very astute. They are high, talent in terms of understanding what actors can bring to the table in terms of, but again, they're off-camera artists in their art form, and I'm an on-camera artist. So I try to speak to the on-camera art part of this. And I liken it to creating that an artist creates because they have to, not because they make money. Van Gogh never made a dime in his entire lifetime, but it didn't stop him from creating art. So for me, I'm very focused on the craft of this and working towards the excellence of it, not necessarily the success or the outcomes, because the success or the outcomes are going to be a byproduct of the level of your excellence. So I do a cool thing on Monday nights. Like tonight, I do a thing called Monday Fun Day, where we have actor writers and writers who want their material read and the actors who want to act. And so it's free. It's called Monday Fun Day, and it's free on Zoom. And we pull 15 pages from a feature that somebody's writing and developing, or 20 pages of a pilot, and we read 2 or 3 of those in a given 3-hour period of time. So actors will come in for free, and they're going to read like eight different roles in 3 hours, and writers get their material read, and I moderate those. I usually read the stage directions and allow the other actors to read all different roles. And then we really have discussions about the material. It takes the material to another level. I tell the actors, they don't tell you how to be an actor, so they don't tell them how to write, but really speak to the development of the character. So what I'm getting actors to do and understand is to create their own content. It's original content creation. So rather than waiting for the email and the things to come your way or for the business to figure you out, be in developing of telling and creating your own stories. And in that, you'll learn a lot of skills. So then that's on Monday nights. And then I coach people privately. I watch their self-tapes. I look at their picture, resume, reels, help them to kind of put their packaging and marketing together. Because if they're not getting in the room, or their marketing materials are not getting received in a way, that's something we need to fix. If they keep doing self-tapes and they don't look at them with any discernment, or have somebody who's looking at it from an actor's point of view, as opposed to a casting director that has likes or dislikes, which can be very subjective. It can drive an actor crazy to be listening to people that are only looking at it from another point of view. However, that point of view is extremely important, because you're making an impression. It's this curation. So your art has to stand out in a good way, not in a bad way. And then Wednesdays, I do the thing called Lunch Crunch, which is really about mastering self-tapes. People will upload a couple of their self-tapes that they have from a recent audition or in the past. I give them notes or adjustment on it. And then we focus on a particular show. This month, we've been focusing on Bear, that walked away with, 23 Emmy nominations, and I think 15 of those they won. Other than Shogun, I think The Bear was a big winner.
Yeah.
So we focus on shows that are hot, and then now next month in October we're going to focus on Chicago Fire. So what I do is I pulled 6 scenes from The Bear, I pull 5 scenes from Chicago Fire, and those actors can then shoot that as a self-tape and upload it. So I'm giving you 2 auditions a week, guaranteed, whether you upload, from other auditions, but guaranteed you're going to do 2 auditions a week. And the point is to build your self-tape muscle. It's like going to the gym, doing cardio. And then on Wednesday nights, starting on October 9th, I do what's called my core labs, which are fundamentals. So the first week we do a table read, script analysis of the entire script. You get the entire episode script, which rarely you do for an audition.
Right.
And then the second week, I pull 5 scenes, which will be the audition scenes. And we break down each of those scenes. So you understand how to nail that first moment, understand how to do the 3-act structure, the event of the scene. And then the third week, I go, okay, pick one of these 5 scenes and shoot it and upload to self-tape, focusing on your eye lines, primary and secondary within the frame. And then the last Wednesday of the month, I call it, core 4 work, which is bringing nouns to life. Oftentimes on the page, person, places, things, and events are spoken about, but rarely do actors visualize, rarely do they see it before they say it. So the core labs are about strengthening your fundamentals, and you can drop in and drop out. If you just want to focus on eye lines, you want to focus on script analysis, you want to focus on your first moment, you can come in and out as you see fit. So those are the things that I offer in terms of and then on every Sunday on Instagram, I do a free, 1 hour, subject about self-tapes called Self-Tape Sunday. And that's all up on Instagram, on camera workouts. And then my personal Instagram is James Dumont, DUMONT. And then everything is on our website. I also do live workouts. I'm going to Charleston for the wrap party of The Righteous Gemstones, season 4, hopefully many, many more to come. So while I'm in Charleston, I'm going to teach a live class where, I got, 8 people on camera and then, 20 observers. And I just teach people fundamentals of self-taping because self-taping is the great equalizer. It used to be if you were at particular agencies or management companies and there were live auditions, there were these little small amount of coveted spaces where it didn't allow access for everyone. And when COVID hit, all of a sudden, cast directors themselves were like, wow, looking at actors all over the world, multicultural people that weren't at those big, and the fact that they could look at 200 to 300 self-tapes in the time period that they used to look at 6 to 8 to 10 actors in a given day. So, for me, self-tapes are the great equalizer. It's good for the environment. You don't have to get into a car. You don't have to get into a plane. You don't have to create traffic. Right? 8 people don't have to be coming from all over the city to go meet in one place to make a decision. It could all be done online. You can have interactions like you and I are having Zoom thing. There's virtual live that people do, virtual callbacks. But self-taping is not going to go anywhere. And the fact is, I realize you're auditioning far more than you're ever going to act. Yeah. So it's the only opportunity that you get to act today or this week. And so never begrudge that.
Some of the best actors
Right. You get one of those rare opportunities to be self-taping. I was on a panel at the Chicago. I do these things called the Actor Empowerment Summits. And in Chicago, I was on a panel with Erica Hart, who was talking about, one of the actors was like, well, what are the numbers? And he's like, I don't know why he needs to know the numbers. It's not going to help him in any way. But yeah, there were 3,000 submissions, 1,500 of which were looked at, and only 40 people were given self-tape auditions. And it came down to 4 people, then it came down to 1. So, hey, okay, so now you know the numbers. Does that help you? The only number you need to know is you're one of those 40 people. And if you're one of those 40 people, and she said, yeah, and maybe I'll get 20 auditions because 20 people won't even submit because schedule, conflicts, childcare, work, So if you're one of those select people that, were weeded out from the things, the self-tape is everything. It's everything. So the fact that you get that opportunity, I just got an opportunity for a A-list director that I've wanted to work with for well over a decade. And it came at a time where I'm, having fun out playing at the Emmys, and I'm like going to the Penguin premiere in New York. I'm going from, I was like, it's coming at a time that I'm just like, all over the place. But that was my one shot of this particular director because I've never auditioned for them before. So this is your shot, take it, do the best you can, and surround yourself with people that are working towards making you better as opposed to making money off of you.
Yes. But many of the actors, like veteran actors I've talked to, like Ed Asner, or some people who've won Emmys and stuff, one of the things they always say is that any chance to act is a chance to act. And
that's right.
And that auditions are chances to act. So it's funny you say that. I was told that by many people say, don't look at it as auditions. It's a chance to act. And so obviously these are people who, like you work all the time. They have Emmys. They're agreeing with you. They're saying like, you got to change your face. The one thing I want to ask you, because, and you have to go into detail because I want people to go to his stuff. I'll teach you there. But I
Yeah,
heard
everything's at online oncameraworkouts.com. So that's
yes,
the best way to find
I'll
it.
put the link in it. But there's
Yeah.
something I read something somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but did they change the way? Let me answer the question this way: did some companies change the way self tapes are done, or something? I thought I read something somewhere, or was it the union, or did somebody do something different recently?
Yeah. They put in benchmarks and guidelines
Okay,
of which those who are seasoned folks like myself, that's all well and good, but they made it that you don't have, they say in the description, you don't have to memorize your lines.
oh, so they want you
That's a
to look maybe
guideline.
like this.
They put
Ah,
in two guidelines. You don't have to, they say you don't have to memorize your lines.
okay,
But let's be real for a second.
right,
There are tens of hundreds of thousands of people vying for this opportunity.
yes,
How confident are you going to be in putting that person on a set in
right,
the middle of Midtown Manhattan where it's $30,000 to $50,000 per minute
right,
to be the cop, the three-line cop in the beginning of Law and Order?
right,
And it took them 10 to 15 takes in order to get those 3 to 4 lines out.
exactly, exactly,
So if you can't show them what you're going to do in the self tape, meaning my teacher, Tim Phillips, would say, you perform how you prepare. If you under prepare, you underperform. If you over prepare to the point where you know every line, you know what you're going to say, you know what's going to happen, your character has no surprises. That's an over prepared audition of which you've just memorized lines and there's no discoveries at all. So you have to find that kind of fine line between under and over. But the reality is, yes, you can say the guidelines are that, you don't have to memorize your lines, but show me the statistics of those who have booked jobs that didn't know their
yeah, yeah. I'm
lines.
like,
And
yeah,
there's
like,
and there's been casting directors like, oh my God, this is a terrible guideline because people really are just phoning it in. And when the casting director from Equalizer was saying, yes, I put the breakdown out, within minutes, people are putting premature, unprepared. They don't know that I can see them reading their lines. They have they do all the, they have a teleprompter and I can see them moving the prompt. She's like, that's not good. And the second thing was terms of turnarounds, certain amount of pages, certain amount of days. You can't rush an actor to kind of do turnarounds. However, those of us who've been doing it for 15 years understand. I know for an episodic top of show guest star, I need to turn it around within 24 to 48 hours.
right,
Even though the deadline is 72, the reality is by the time that they're looking, if you submit it by that deadline for certain, for television, not for film, film has a longer casting cycle. But for television, especially episodic, it's 5 days from the time the breakdown comes out to the time they're cutting a deal memo. 5. So 72 hours, you can take the 72 hours. You can say, but I think you got to put the most strongest. That's why I focus on, the fundamentals, but why I focus in fundamentals is breaking that script down quick. I got a 10-step approach. It just gets people cliff notes, gets you right where you need to go in 5 minutes. You go through these 10 steps, you're good to go. You're ready to start. And then there's that thing of like, one has to keep getting in front of camera to be confident and be strong. And that's why guaranteed with the workouts, it's like you have by Wednesday, you have 2 auditions that you have to either submit or shoot or upload by Wednesday. Just like like I'm your agent or manager, here's your deadline every week. You got to do 2 and make sure those 2 are different. If you're going to send the same scene, don't show me the same, oh, I did it with a different hat or a different shirt. It's like, no. What's the different first moment? What's the different first emotional moment between take 1 and take 2? What take is for them in terms of tone, style, tempo? And what's the take for you? This is if I got a second take on set, this is what I would do. So I feel like, craft is king. You're not going to outfame anybody. You're not going to out the nepotism, as you and I both know, uncles, cousins,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
girlfriends,
Babysitters, whatever. Yeah.
side booty that's going to get cast because she's the producer's,
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
he or she's thing. And so they, them's thing. So, yeah, you're not going to win that game. The only thing that you can control is the caliber and the quality of your craft. And that includes your sound and your lighting and your execution, because everybody's getting the same material. So
Well,
it comes down to actors and what you do in a 24 to 48-hour period of time.
I just want to tell people, you never know when your time will hit. So if you always have good quality and someone says, James, can you send me blah, blah, blah? You can with confidence going, I know this may have been, 5 months ago, but I know it's good. I think it's exactly what they want. I can put confidence, send it out because I've gotten jobs and gigs sometimes. They've tried somebody else, didn't work. You just never know. Like you said, maybe the girlfriend breaks up with them. They go, screw that girlfriend. Right. Now it's like you never know. We're joking. Well, we're half joking. But how it's like you just never know when something or a person gets another job. They can't do that. So now it opens back up. So it's like if you have the quality always there, then at least maybe they come right away. But I'm telling you, I've gotten jobs way later off of something I did a long time ago. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, again, I give the example of this particular project. I mean, I put that in 6 months ago. It was 7 months from the time that I submitted to the time I did the job. You never know. And that's the thing you have to understand. Never begrudge the opportunity, like you just said, to act and to put that out there. Yeah. And, my dear friend and mentor in auditioning is a guy named Tim Phillips, and his book is called Audition for Your Career, Not the Job.
Oh, how funny. I like that.
That's not just the title of a book. That's a philosophical, that's a philosophy that one needs to adopt every single time that you get an opportunity to put your work in front of somebody. And I always say to everybody, when it comes to opportunities, there are no lost opportunities. Either you seized it or somebody else did.
Right.
That's the strict competitive nature of what we do. Right. Either you make the most of the given circumstances in the time period that you did, or somebody else will. And if you don't make enough of an impression, and this is where I built relationships, like when I've been meeting with certain people and giving them lists of the cast directors that I have relationships with, these people keep calling on me over and over and over again. And it's because they have confidence in knowing that I'm going to deliver for them. That's period, end of story. No two ways about that.
I believe in that.
But I've earned that right.
Right.
I use the example of Deepwater Horizon, where I did a play that I originated up in Harlem at Frank Silvera's studios. I brought it down to my theater company in Midtown, and then I moved it to Los Angeles. And then we from Midtown to Tribeca, where Robert De Niro wanted the rights to the movie, and the writer was like, "No," and I was like, "Are you crazy? Robert De Niro wants to make this." And they're like, no, I think I got better things. I was like, whatever. So then we moved to Los Angeles. We did it as a play. And I played this Irish cop from Hell's Kitchen. And this one casting director named Deborah Aquila was a casting director at the time. And then she moved on to become the head of Paramount Pictures casting, in charge of all Paramount. She brought me in for years. Never pins, avails, callbacks, never a booking from her. Her assistant, woman named Sarah Finn, who heads up all casting for Marvel. So every single time that I went in for these people, I made an impression. Cut to years later. I'm now up for number 4 on the call sheet of Deepwater Horizon, $150 million movie. Number 1 is Mark Wahlberg. Number 2 is Kurt Russell. Number 3 is a dear friend of mine, Doug Griffin. I'm number 4. Joe Crest, the dad from Stranger Things, is number 5. So 3, 4, 5. But they have to get approval of Lionsgate. Do you know who the head of Lionsgate casting was? Deborah Aquila.
There you go.
I needed to get, and she's like, no, we're good. I know who he is.
I'm sure. He's like, yeah.
He's been delivering auditions for me for 20 years. Now it's time. And then they fly me up to Toronto. We premiere at the Toronto Film Festival. And there's Deborah Quill and I, and we're crying and hugging each other. And I was like, yeah. I was like, we did it. We finally did it. It's like after all these years, I said, yeah, that was 1992.
Wow.
And here we are, 2015.
That's what it is. No, it happened.
About,
Trust me, I know it happened.
and I went in every time, never angry, never
Right.
begrudging, never
Thank you.
frustrated.
That's the point.
Every time I went in, I was like, if she's calling me in, I'm building a relationship, And these days, it's so quick, and there's so many people to choose from now all over the world that I like it. I liken it to to the dating apps, like nope,
Swipe
don't know
right,
what to
swipe left,
like,
yeah.
like it's Tinder or Bumble or whatever, so it's like nope, they don't know what to do. Eyes out of the frame, can't hear them. The script is in their hand, don't know the words, not like they're just like weaning through. So you have to make that impression. This is my book of business. I'm submitting my entire portfolio of all my art to this particular art exhibit. And again, it's not, and we said this before when we were interviewing too. I've never been rejected in the 40 years I've been doing this. I haven't been selected,
Right.
but I've never been rejected. And there's a very distinct difference and a psychological mindset between the two. If you feel rejected because you personally put your work in it, and my work is always personal. I mean, I've laid down amazing auditions, zero, nada, no response whatsoever. Now, mind you, those casting directors keep coming back. So I didn't necessarily get that job, but I'm going to get some job.
Yeah, sure.
But you have to make enough of an impression that your work stands out in the most positive way. So for me, it is a journey, and you kind of said to it a little bit. I try to stay away from outcomes. I try to stay away from results. It's extremely difficult to do after all these years, especially when there's less because of constriction in the business and there's less opportunities. But the fact is, if they're calling me, that means a famous person is unavailable or they can't afford them. Yes. So the fact that I'm even getting looked at is probably a good thing. Or they do have the offer in, they're just waiting for the money, or they're waiting for the schedule. And I'm the backup. And I'm okay with that because it's getting me an opportunity to put my work, and my work is not on the level that it was. There were casting directors that I met earlier in my career that I have not seen since because they have not grown in their understanding of my work. Yeah. And that's on them. That's not on me because I'm still doing my work. It's just, there are so many people to choose from at this particular time. And again, if you're working in large markets like New York or Los Angeles, you're not competing in that local market anymore. I have students that are in London and Japan and Australia that will work as a local hire in New York or LA. They have a friend's couch they can sleep on.
Yes, they have. I know.
They have a work visa. So do you understand that in those larger markets, it's not just local, it's not regional, it's international.
Well, also,
and that means your work has got to stand up.
Also, what's happening is, here in LA, especially, stuff's going outsourced now. So, Netflix is in Albuquerque. Things are happening in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, South Carolina. I mean, the production in Vegas, productions are going other places. So, yes. Folks, just keep that in mind, too. And they're looking for folks who are willing to travel. I have a lot of friends getting jobs outside of LA. Correct. So that is true. So it's like now.
Since the strike, I'd say 80% of my clients are getting opportunities out of New York and Canada and overseas.
Oh yeah, Canada too. I've got Canada and Canada too.
Those are the only areas. Atlanta's picking up a little bit, but it's almost like everybody's waiting for the election. Everybody's waiting for the other project 2025.
Yes.
Not the project that's going to destroy this entire country. Throwing my little 2 cents in there. Not that list, but Project 2025 of let's get back to creating content. Let's get back to telling stories. Yeah. But you have to understand, this has been a strange time. Yes. Our business is going through a massive amount of change. Completely. Layoffs, yes. AI, if not necessarily just changing the way in which that on-camera performance are working, but also in the office, in the art direction world, in the labor of production. So there's a lot of things that are changing. Again, the one thing AI can't do right now is to generate live theater. So I know it sounds crazy, and if you can figure out a way to make money doing live theater, creating it, writing it, performing it, I'd say that's your future because that hasn't changed in hundreds, centuries. It
And
hasn't changed
folks,
in
and folks, live theater is still
and
here.
people like live human
They
interaction. We
do.
figure that out,
They do.
right?
Live
And
theater
they're
and
willing to pay
concerts.
outrageous amounts of money for the concerts. They don't want it on Zoom. They don't want to download it. They want to be there. They want to
That's
have
true.
experience.
That's true.
So we're still part of that, and that can happen. And there's ways in which to make, turn AI not necessarily as the enemy, but as a tool to maybe create, your own content
Yeah.
in a very affordable way. So just as we have embraced cell phones from when we had when we used to have a phone that had a cord
Yes.
and we used to get up and change the channel. Now, like we need to adjust to the new normal, and not necessarily be so afraid of. There has to be protections in there, but every country, every corporation is struggling with artificial intelligence as a means to increase profit, cut cost. Everybody's doing it.
So,
So
folks,
we're not alone. We're not alone in that, but don't work from a place of fear. Work from a place of, educate myself and myself included. I'm now creating pitch decks pulled off of
yeah.
Chat GBT in terms of wording, in terms of
Oh yeah.
images.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's saving me. I was never a great pitch deck guy. Now I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I could actually do this, on my phone.
I,
So
but here's the thing: I can talk to you forever, but I have to actually end the show
yes,
because I have other shows to do.
yes, exactly.
I love James. I always, folks, I love
I
it.
know, and the good news is you can edit and cut as you see
But
fit.
it's,
But
so
yes.
give me it all. I'm giving it all in.
I always give it all to you for you to do your sound bites and
Yes,
pull this.
yes. I would doing all that too. But no, I love talking. I love talking to you. We always have
know.
great conversations. Yes,
Absolutely. And
you
next
are.
time I'm in LA, you got to come to my live workout, man. Like I only come to next time you got
When
to
you,
come
yeah,
in.
when you come to LA, I was asking you when you come to LA.
I don't, when
Not
there's
right
a
now.
job, or some awards, like I show up to the opening of an envelope. My wife's like, "So why are you going to the Penguin premiere? You're not in Penguin." I was like, "But Colin Farrell and I work together in SWAT."
You said
And so then I go to the premiere and I have a 20-minute conversation with James Gunn because he's a righteous
wow.
gemstone.
Okay.
And I'm like, this was worth the trip. And then the
Yes.
guy that helped up Penguin went to North Carolina School for the Arts with Danny McBride, with David Gordon Green, with Jody Hill. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's good to show up. So I
Yes,
show up.
you do.
So yeah, so you'll find me wherever I go.
Yes. Well, folks, I will put underneath the video I will have and the audio I'll have all his connect. Please follow him.
Great.
Please follow him. Please follow him. Please follow him. Aaron Hernandez, the American Sports Story, is the first series of that now. Right? It was
Yep.
going to be American Crime Story. He changed to American Sports Story. It's on FX and Hulu on Tuesday nights. He'll be showing up towards the end of the season.
Yeah, right. We're gonna be tomorrow night is I think episode 4.
More, yeah.
And I roll in on episode 8 and 9 of 10. So, there's 10 episodes total, and they just get progressively more
I know. I'm
interesting,
ready. I'm ready.
disturbing, and enticing, and inspiring too. This was a really great American story and an American tragedy at the same time.
Yeah.
Because even as you saw in this last episode, it's like, him and Tim Tebow, like he's getting religion, he's getting faith, like it's, so you're rooting for this, we're heroes, we love our heroes, and our athletes and actors and are part of that, so I'm glad to be part of that storytelling.
Yes. So James DuMont, that's his name. So make sure you hear that name. He keep hearing it, and we're gonna post stuff. So I want you guys to follow him, of course.
My name is what? The name is what?
Yeah. His name is James. Hello. How can you not
James
forget that?
Dumont.
How can you not
Yes.
forget that? We both Jameses. You can't forget that.
James squared right here.
James
Two
Square.
Jameses.
James Square. We're not
You're sandwiched
square.
between welcome to two Jameses. You're sandwiched between two, instead of between two palms, you're between two Jameses.
Yes, that could be dirty or fun at the same time. I'm not sure.
You can do whatever, however you take that in the spirit of which I was given. You just.
Oh my God. I'm James Lott Jr. And this is my show.
And I'm James Dumont, and you've seen the two Jameses. So watch FX, Hulu, Aaron Hernandez
Yes. Watch that.
miniseries.
And my after
FX.
show, which is right here on JLJ Media. Make sure you check that out. We will do the reaction episode 4 when it comes out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that too. But share this interview with anybody who's an actor. He's a working actor, kids. So he knows what he's talking about. And we'll see you next time.